Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Leanne Kaufman, a member of SIMalliance's communications team, and I'd like to warmly welcome you to this SIMalliance webinar on 2015 SIM shipments, and remind you that the presentation you're about to see is based on data collated from SIMalliance members. Before handing you over to SIMalliance's chairman, Hervé Pierre, to deliver today's presentation, there are a few housekeeping points that I would like to quickly walk through. All attendees will remain muted during the session to reduce feedback and background noise. The presentation will be delivered in approximately 20 minutes. We'll then have 15 minutes for a Q&A session at the end. You all may submit questions using the presentation dashboard, and your questions will be collected throughout the webinar. Of course, we'll try to answer as many questions as possible at the end, but if we don't have time to answer all the questions on this session, we'll reply individually by email following the webinar within 24 hours. So now I'll pass you over to Hervé to begin our presentation. Next slide, please, and over to you, Hervé.
Thank you, Leanne. Good afternoon, everybody. So before starting, I'd like to say that SIMalliance data, so the data I will present during this webinar, is definitely the most accurate SIM market data available. One, thanks to the footprint of SIMalliance member and in the global market, and second, to a blind data collation process which all members are participating in. In terms of footprint, so SIMalliance members represent 88% of the global SIM market. In other words, it means that all the major industry players are represented within the SIMalliance. This is why we have 88%. And the remaining 12% of the market is really made up of very, very small players. SIMalliance market data is available for subscription. So you have the details on the slide of Alliance Management. You can contact them, and you will get more information about this at the end of this presentation. Slide 4, please. First of all, I would like to explain the difference between the two columns, so the green column and the gray. First of all, the green, so these are the figures that are based on SIMalliance members' delivery. So it was static in 2015 at 4.7 billion. And now the gray column, in fact, is the total available market. So if we recalculate this total available market with the footprint we have, so 88%, it means that it was slightly growing by 2% at 5.3 billion. Before looking at the reason why we have a flat or a small growth in 2015, I would like to look back in 2013. So you see a drop in the figures. This was due to the impact of regulation in India on the prepaid market. So I will come back to this later on, and it was just to remind you the figures. Let's move to slide 5. So after India, it's the turn of China, because 2015 was a unique year in China, and a number of factors led to a market contraction. But it's just a problem in China, because if we look outside of China, the SIMalliance shipments grew by 7% in 2015. And now, if we look at what are the reason of this contraction in China, there is at least 3. The first is we had an exceptional demand for LTE card in H2 2014, and this led to excess stock levels for 2015. Second, same as what happened in India. So it's a problem of regulation. So the acceleration of ID confirmation accompanying SIM registration following the 2013 regulation in China. So exactly the same issue with the prepaid market. And then, as you may know, this is due also to some macroeconomic environment, because in 2015, China reported the slowest growth for 25 years. Let's move to slide 6 to look at the different regions. Before, I would like to remind that these information are first-hand information, because what you will see is not included in the press release. So then you can reuse this first-hand information. I also have to mention that the figures reported on this slide are from SIMalliance shipment and not the total available market data. So first, we can say that it's a good growth in many regions, but in fact, global growth is likely to be greater in some markets, but we cannot define which, because again, these figures are based on SIMalliance shipment, which have remained static in 2015, while the TAM grew by 2%, but these figures are again the SIMalliance figures and not the total available market. So again, the growth could be greater in some markets. Collectively, America grew by 6%. And then Europe is back to growth with plus 1%. That is a good news, because North America and Europe are countries where SIMalliance members are selling high-end products. We had an impressive plus 14%, 14 in Middle East Africa. And again, it's also good news, because South America and Africa are regions where SIMalliance members are providing a lot of SIM-based services. We already talked about China. So while Asia contracted in total due to the Chinese factors we already discussed, nevertheless had a strong growth in some key Asian markets, notably Japan to minus 5.5%. But this regional decline, in fact, masks a growth in Russia and Ukraine, where volumes are higher than CIS republics. Let's move to slide 7. And have a focus on the region. So first with America. So as we mentioned, America is a 6% growth in 2015. In North America, the shipment rose 3%, so to 2 million, mainly driven by the LTE migration. And just to illustrate, the LTE SIM shipment in North America increased to 161 million in 2015, so plus 70%, so 1/7. And unfortunately, the cessation of soft card impacted the NFC SIM shipment as anticipated. But in return, we enjoyed 8% growth in 2015 in South America. This significant growth was mainly due to LTE deployment across South America, including Brazil. And we believe that this will continue on the coming months and years. Let's move to slide 8 to continue with the regional analysis. So Middle East, Africa, so as I mentioned, this impressive plus 14%. It was the highest growth among all regions, and this is the largest regional volume outside of Asia, with 982 million, so let's say 1 billion. And this market with strong growth was mainly due to three factors. One is MNO are continuing to acquire subscribers, especially in developing countries. We had on the market some affordable smartphones that are replacing the feature phone. And then, as I mentioned, the deployment of LTE happened in every African market. Europe, so despite there was no major SIM technology migration in 2015, we are back to growth, so with plus 1%, with 444 million units, roughly half a billion, which indicates market stability. And then CIS, so with the minus 5.5% decline, in fact, this regional decline masks a 5% growth in volume in larger Russia-Ukraine market compared to CIS Republic. Let's move to slide 9, please, and continue with this analysis with Asia. So we already talked about the decline caused by the market condition in China, but the growth was evident across Asia. So if we exclude China, the region has grown, and especially in India, so the volume grew by plus 25% to 816 million units, and SIMalliance shipment to India were the highest in Asia in 2015. So it means that it showed recovery. It showed the recovery from effect of regulation in 2013, and then the same in Japan, Korea. We have seen a significant 12.5% growth, so to 64 million units, and this with a strong demand for advanced SIM technology, so like LTE, NFC, NanoSIM, but also SIM for machine-to-machine. Greater China remained the largest LTE market globally with 380 million units, but I have to specify that it's sometimes with some localized solution, so not totally aligned with the definition of LTE card according to SIMalliance definition. We also see a strong growth in NFC SIM shipments across Asia with plus 16% to 68.7 million units, so including a growth in China. What we have seen with India, it's a good. I don't know if we can already talk about this, but potentially this is a good news because we can say that there is a potential recovery in China. So it's still possible, but we will see. But the uncertainty will probably come from the economic condition, and this cannot be predicted. Let's move to slide 10. Focused on LTE. So every market in every region saw at minimum a double-digit percentage growth in shipment in 2015. We achieved 1 billion units for the first time, 1 billion. So including, again, China and India, but sometimes, as I said, with some localized solution based on regional standards, so not totally compliant with our definition of LTE SIM card. Nevertheless, it's a great achievement for LTE with this 1 billion. And if we compare the 2014 figures with these figures in 2015, compare 270 million, so 270 in 2014. North America is still the second biggest market with 161 million, so compared to 138 million the previous year. South America is still the third biggest market with 113 million, 113, compared to 62 million the previous year. Surprise, Brazil has replaced Japan, Korea as the next market. And then India has also started shipping in volume. Let's move to slide 11. So we already talked about the soft card effect. Let's look at the impact on the NFC SIM shipment. So this cessation of soft card led to a decline in North American shipment and subsequently an overall static global picture for NFC SIM. Nevertheless, if we look outside of North America, the total SIMalliance shipment of NSE-enabled SIM increased by 20 million units. So let me highlight two significant growth markets. Asia with plus 16%, so with figures of 68.7 million, and Europe with plus 25%, so with the figures of 32.8 million. In Asia, this is probably due to the transportation application, so that's a good news. NFC is not only based on payment, but could also be used in transport, and this probably explain this significant growth, especially in Asia. Let's move to slide 12. In terms of form factor, before looking at the figures, I would like to inform you that the NanoSIM, so the 4FF, the NanoSIM shipment reported by SIMalliance members also include the triple SIM volume. So it means that the SIM that are 2FF, 3FF, and 4FF in the same time with a triple cut. By doing so offering triple SIM to the MNO, in fact, we are providing MNO with solution to reduce their stock requirement. So as you may understand, this has, let's say, obviously an impact on shipment volumes. Nevertheless, it was clearly a success in this NanoSIM category. Now, let's look at the comparison with 2014 figures. So in 2014, the good old 2FF was representing half of the market. So this has been replaced in 2015 by the micro SIM. So the micro SIM is now replacing the 2FF and is now considered as the standard with half of the market. Nevertheless, NanoSIM volumes are growing faster everywhere, so with an impressive plus 194%, so 194, and every market in every region increased the volumes in NanoSIM category. The largest NanoSIM market are Western Europe, China, North and South America. Let's move to slide 13. That will be my main conclusion. So for the total available market, so we have seen that it has grown by 2%. So it means 100 million units. Many key regions and markets have expanded, including Americas, Europe, Middle East, Africa, India, Japan, Korea. We already talked about this issue in China, and the Chinese market forces affected the global volumes, but nevertheless, growth in China remains strong for advanced technology such as LTE and NFC and NanoSIM. Now LTE, so the shipment for LTE hit 1 billion. So again, it's a great achievement. All markets in all regions significantly increase the volumes, and the migration to 4G will probably continue in 2015. The penetration of smartphone was a key growth driver, particularly in emerging markets. So we already mentioned this for Africa. Soft card, so the cessation of soft card impacted the NFC shipment in North America. NFC SIM shipment grew by 20 million units outside of the America, and we have seen a significant growth in Asia and Europe. For the form factors, so every market, every region are growing NanoSIM volumes, and as we mentioned just before, plug-in SIM is no longer dominating the market. This has been replaced by the 3FF. For the future, innovation is a priority for SIM industry, and we will continue. So we are currently working 5G security requirements, but we are also defining the embedded UACC, so the subscription management for connected consumer device. So let's continue, and I will now pass over to Liane for a few remarks before we start the Q&A session. Liane?
Great, thanks Hervé. So before we move on, I just want to remind everyone that this webinar is the first public viewing of this data, and we genuinely appreciate you joining us for this preview. Just to give you a quick update, we will be publishing a press release tomorrow morning to announce these SIM shipment figures, and from tomorrow lunchtime, this webinar, both the slides and the audio and the press release will be publicly available on the SIMalliance website. But to thank you for attending today. Once today's session closes, the SIMalliance comms team will send all attendees the press release, which will be embargoed until tomorrow. We'll also send you a PDF of the presentation slides in order that you get this information in advance of the general press release dispatch. So we thank you in advance for respecting this embargo. If you have any questions on the data once the webinar closes, obviously please address them to us at the SIMalliance comms team. Contact details are available on the slide. So now let's move on to the Q&A session. Next slide, please. So it looks like we have received a fair few questions throughout the webinar, Hervé. I'll focus on the ones initially that I think will be of interest to most people. So the first question I have is, do you expect the situation in China to improve throughout 2016?
I expect, yes, but in fact, I do not have a crystal ball, but otherwise I would be very happy to answer to your question. But more seriously, if we look at India as a comparative example, we can see a similar situation. So the market declined in 2013 due to the introduction of the regulation for the prepaid SIM market. That has to be identified and registered. And since then, the Indian market has since made a strong recovery with shipment returning to I would say, normal level now. So it means that this is possible. This clearly shows that a recovery after a regulation-induced decline is possible. But what is not possible to predict is what happened with the Chinese economy. So because of this, I really cannot speculate on what may or may not happen in China.
Okay, thank you. I have another question here, Hervé. Is there much room for global growth this year in light of the flat volumes in 2015?
First, in fact, we never do some forecast. Nevertheless, we believe that again it's more and more difficult to predict the market. This is why the SIMalliance figures has some value, because this market is really unpredictable. So we have seen in 2013 a first accident. Let's say that this flat market in 2015 is also an accident. So it was quite static, but again, with a 2% growth in total for the total available market. But nevertheless, we have seen, and I insisted on this, we have seen some strong growth in high-end products. So I mean by high-end product, it was the case for the LTE card, also the case for the NFC SIM, despite the soft card cessation. So it means that an increased volume of high-end SIM product is obviously a positive news for the industry. Nevertheless, there is also another, let's say, factor that is quite important, is the machine-to-machine, because until now we were talking about population penetration. So, and when we were talking about saturation, we were referring to the penetration of the human, I would say. But if we are now talking about machine-to-machine, in fact, there is no limit for this growth. So if you put now a SIM card instead of putting one SIM card by main on the planet, but you are putting a SIM card in his tablet, in his or her tablet, plus a SIM card is in the fridge and then in his watch, etc., plus his car, and all the machines that will be connected. In fact, the market is completely unlimited and we have no limit. So this is a potential for growth that is, again, unlimited.
Okay, thank you. We've had a few questions submitted actually on the theme of eSIM, Hervé. So how will eSIM impact future volumes? And does the latest 2015 data suggest that the market is moving that way given the growth of nano and micro SIM units?
That's a very good question. First, let me say that I will be in a better position to answer to this question on next year, because we will start tracking the eSIM volume from 2016. So I will be able to give you more information on this topic in next year's webinar. Nevertheless, let's come back to the initial question. So for the time being, we don't have a clear view of it. Nevertheless, in terms of impacting the volume, I would like to avoid any confusion by a few definitions. First of all, eSIM doesn't mean an embedded SIM. So eSIM is referring to, in fact, a new way of provisioning and managing the life cycle of subscription. But this can be done on any form factor. So for instance, you can have an embedded SIM, so according to GSMA definition, that is working on a removable SIM, so a very classic SIM. So there is no link between the form factor and the embedded SIM. It could be an embedded, but not necessary. So in other words, it's quite impossible to say what will be the impact of this eSIM on volumes. And in fact, it will also depend on how quickly they will be adopted by the MNO. So it could take years before all the MNO profiles are available. So, and again, this will probably have an impact on the churn, but as I mentioned already, and it will be the end of this question, for the time being, this embedded SIM is targeting the machine-to-machine market, so for consumer electronic devices or other machine-to-machine applications. So, in fact, at the end, embedded SIM should be additional volume, so on top of what we currently have with the SIM for, again, what I used previously for human population.
Thank you, Hervé. Now, I'm not sure if you can answer this next question, Hervé, but we've had 3 people asking more or less the same thing, so I'm going to throw it out there. Outside of the countries already mentioned, which I'm assuming are India and China, will SIM ID registration requirements likely extend to other regions? Is that something that you can comment on?
Yes, I don't have the specific figures on this, but there are some regions that have adopted this regulation. Some regions have rejected, and some other regions are evaluated. But I believe that the India, the China, and the Africa are already applying this new regulation. And in Europe, it depends. We know that in UK or Canada, they refuse. The same for the US. So, but there is some information. I can say that for the big volumes, it will probably be, let's say, more stable now.
Okay. And we have another question here. Can any data and guidance be shared on MFF2 shipments?
Sorry, say it again.
Sure. Can we share any data or any insight on MFF2 shipments?
Unfortunately, we cannot. Let me check what we have. In fact, we are looking at this machine-to-machine market, but for the this machine-to-machine market, we can use different SIM. In fact, we can use a soldered SIM, so known as MFF2, that is soldered, or we can use a regular SIM. So, but it's impossible to track the regular SIM, because when we are providing a SIM, we don't know if the end user will put it into a smartphone or into a machine at the end. So in fact, we are only tracking the machine-to-machine form factor, so this MFF2, and it's an indicator of the growth, but we don't have a vision of this total market, because for the time being they are also using some regular SIM, and we cannot make the difference with the other.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you, Hervé. By my watch, I now make it 4:35 p.m. in Europe, so it's time to close the webinar. Thank you, everybody, again for attending. We really do appreciate your participation. I'm very aware that there are a number of questions we didn't have time to answer within the 15 minutes allocated, so please be assured if you have asked a question and we haven't responded to it during this session, we will get back to you via email within the next 24 hours. But thank you again for your participation. Thank you, Hervé, for your delivery. Wishing everybody a good day, and thanks again for joining us.
Good day, everybody. Bye.